yeah.
All right.
I mean, the Hafiz to me is like having an interview with him.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time I was in the farm shed and Alaba, you know, opened up the Hafiz and he translated for me, or he had me. I can't remember who, but it was something he was going to read, and so he translated it right there to me. And boy, it was like having an interview with, you know, with Baba. What I mean is it was coming right from the eternal present, you might say. It was really something.
Yeah, I had that experience once in Mehrabad. Do you know the woman Zara and Arjang from
Yeah,
Shiraz?
yeah,
Yeah, we were sitting around. It was probably my first Amar Tithi in India. And we were still in MPC, you know, everybody was hanging out in Lower Mehrabad. And one night, just totally spontaneously, we all gathered in one giant circle. And Zara started reciting Hafez in Farsi. And I was just spontaneously translating it. And I have no idea. I mean, nowadays I have to like labor for hours to get a ghazal translated, but it was just so beautifully spontaneous and it just kind of came out of me. I'm sure it was Alaba and Baba
yeah.
helping me along. It was a beautiful experience, and many people who were there still remember it. There was quite a wave
Yeah.
of energy.
Well, give us a Hafiz. I see Patty there.
Hi.
Great to see you. Fantastic.
I've been meaning to
Yeah.
come for months.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about this book is that every session is is independent of everything else, and also interdependent, but they're connected and yet they're independent on their own. Yeah.
Very true. Like
Okay. Let's hear
ghazals
that.
of Hafiz. All right. Well, you better pick a good one,
Okay.
Jeff. Pick one from 1 to 5. Let's see. What's the last one? 599.
599, 37.
That's a good number. I appreciate the fact that you go for lower numbers because those are the ones I've translated. 37. All right, here we go. زلفت هزار دل به یکی تار مو ببست راه هزار چاره گر از چهار سو ببست. One strand of your hair ensnared 1,000 hearts when it closed all 4 paths devised by 1,000 schemes. One strand of your hair ensnared 1,000 hearts while it closed all 4 paths devised by 1,000 schemes. To kill his lovers from inhaling the scent of his breeze, he opened up his fragrant tresses, but for union closed all doors of hope. I went mad when my beloved revealed his brow like the new moon, shined gloriously for a moment, and then hid himself from view. See how many colors of wine the Saki has poured into the cup. See the beautiful patterns he has painted on the jug. Oh God, what error did the jug commit that the blood of the vessel choked the bottle with its gurgling songs and constricted its throat? Oh God, what error did the jug commit that the blood of the vessel choked the bottle with its gurgling songs and restricted its throat? When the wise man saw through the deceit of the world, he gave up his struggles and shut the door on bantering. What kind of song did the minstrel play? to make the intoxication-seeking soma dancers settle down from the ruckus of their dance. Soma is the dervish whirling dances. What kind of song did the minstrel play to make the intoxication-seeking soma dancers settle down from the ruckus of their dance? Hafez, anyone who desires union without loving is like the one who goes around the Kaaba without proper ablutions.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Ruckus.
Yeah. There was someone that wanted to go to Kaaba and came to Baba, and you know, this is a long ways, all the way to Saudi Arabia, and Baba said, walk around me 7 times. That will be like your Hajj or pilgrimage.
Yeah. You know, when I first went to India also, that first trip, or first Amartithi, when all the Persians showed up, they were doing that kind of as a ritual. They were starting to go around the Samadhi 7 times. And we're like, dude, it's not the Kaaba. This is the new world.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Kaaba, I hear that, you know, they have canceled the Hajj this year.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's what a difference.
First time, yeah.
First time ever.
Mm-hmm.
Except when Baba dropped his body.
Yes, yes.
It flooded for something like 7 days, and no one was able to circumambulate the Kaaba. That's what I understand. Yeah.
Yes.
Now I got Denny here, and I'm going to ask him to tell how informal it was at Baba's tomb back in the early 70s, shortly after Baba dropped his body. I mean, it's naturally changed since then, but this is something that Mansari put us up to. So, Denny, tell them how irreverent.
Well, it all starts with a little story from Monty. She said, we need someone to paint some stones, the likeness of stones on the shutters. And did anybody have any skill to do that? And Jeff wasn't there that day, so I said, oh yeah, you know, no one spoke up. So I said, Jeff would probably love to do that. And so I think this was my desire more than his. But anyway, Monty asked him, and what could he say? Well, I don't know if I could do that. Yes, I think he did say that, but I would be glad to try. And so my own ego was into this. I wanted to be in there too. And I said, well, I'd stay in there and clean up all the little splatters. And Monty said, well, that'd be fun. That would be really nice. You guys could just work in there together. So we did. And it was not crowded at all during that time of the year. I mean, people would come up for Archie in the morning and they come up in the evening, and maybe someone to come up during the day. So we were there alone, and we'd work in there, and it was just so unbelievable to be able to be in the tomb like that. And Jeff would try not to make a mess, but you know, he'd make a little splatter, a little tiny splatter. I had to really search hard to see it, but then I'd clean it up, and I felt like, well, good, I've got done my duty. And then we go take a break outside and just to let off some pressure. We'd walk around on our hands. You know, it was an old thing we used to do in high school and junior high, and we walk around on our hands for a few minutes. And Mansari caught us doing that several times, and she said one day, she said, I wish you two would walk in to Baba's tomb on your hands and bow down. Can you do that?
Oh.
And I think it was Jeff spoke up and said, well, yeah, we could do that. Would that be all right? And she said, yes, I'll stand outside here and guard so no one could be coming up here.
Make sure no Easterners came up over the hill to witness this.
So now this is a highlight of Jeff's and my life. We always had a contest to see who could go the furthest and walking on our hands. So here we are now at Baba's tomb. And so we walk in, and Jeff recalls I walked in first, I think, but I don't remember that.
Yeah, and we were so good. We stepped over the threshold. Then he went up to the marble and everything. We were so good we could go all the way to the floor and back up again without, and still maintain our balance. Yeah. And then I followed after Denny. Yeah.
So then we walked outside afterwards, and Mansari is just there laughing. Oh, it looked like she was going to burst her gut. She was laughing so hard. And I guess all I can remember is we really did that. And what are the chances of that ever happening again? Can you imagine Jeff and I? We probably practiced during Muhammad's time so we could inspire.
Denny, yesterday I was asked, after we heard you, we played you and Jeff's Coming to Baba story on Robin's channel yesterday as the film night.
Yes.
It was enjoyed by, we loved it. Anyway, I was telling Jim, so they crawled to the tomb, right? So walking on hands means they crawled. And he's they literally hands and feet up in the air.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
And
like,
standing.
wow. Were you guys like acrobats or something?
Yeah, we used to be able to walk all over the place, upstairs, downstairs, from junior high. We were able to. So that's how, and it's probably the first time anybody's ever taken darshan at the tomb of the Avatar.
Upside down.
But it was very informal, and of course, it's understandable, people from religious traditions, this would be a little too much for them, but Mansari made sure nobody approached the tomb during that time.
That was a lifetime reward. It really was.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you something that happened last night. They have what do you call it? They have a camera on the Baba's chair in the lagoon cabin.
Yeah.
And it's there from 7 at night till 9. But I went in there about 8:30 when it was kind of getting dark, and I noticed that one of the light bulbs was out. So somebody was watching this thing as if it were just a photograph. And suddenly this guy walks into the photograph, me, to change the light bulb. So it was the first kind of human human being entering into the
You probably gave him a good scare.
Yeah, no, it was a shock.
We need to have more action. I mean, it's a live feed of a still place. It's sort of, maybe we need more bugs or something.
Yeah.
I'll volunteer to be a live person in there.
I know, right?
Yeah. Barry, could you tell, we're going to start in just a little bit. Could you tell the story of when you went to see that Swami in, I don't know, I think it was in Los Angeles, in a couple, 3 minutes?
Sure, it was in San Francisco.
Yeah.
When I used to live in San Francisco, I used to go to the Vedanta Society in San Francisco because it's number one, it's a beautiful building. It's a wonderful place to just be quiet. And I used to go many Sunday mornings because I used to enjoy just being with a group of people that were meditating so deeply. And I had been going there for many years. And even though I knew the Swami, and he knew that I was a follower of Meher Baba, because at some point he asked me, if I was interested in Vedanta, and I said, well, actually, I just come here to be quiet. I said, I'm really into Meher Baba, who he was familiar with in a way. And after a couple of years, it became, I noticed that everybody would make appointments with the Swami. And I thought, I've been coming here for a few years. I should probably make an appointment with this guy and thank him for the opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I had my appointment with the Swami in San Francisco. And I walked into his office and he's sitting there in his orange robes. And he said, it's very nice of you to come and talk to me after all these years. He said, what I'm concerned about, he said, is what is your meditation practice like? And I said, well, I don't meditate, Swami. And he said, you don't meditate? I said, no. He said, well, what kind of spiritual practice do you do? I said, well, I'm a follower of Meher Baba. And Meher Baba said that I try to do what he said. When I get up in the morning, I try to think, Meher Baba has awakened. And when I put my feet on the floor, I go, Meher Baba is getting out of bed now. And Meher Baba's is going to the bathroom. Meher Baba's brushing his teeth. Meher Baba's making coffee. And I went through some of the day doing that. And he looked at me, he said, and you don't meditate? I said, no, Swami, I don't meditate. And he said, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. He said, you are practicing one of the highest forms of meditation that you could practice. And I said, thank you.
I thought that was lovely.
I thought so too.
Beautiful. So here's what, if you're joining for the first time, what happens is that lady in the upper left corner of my screen, Angela, will randomly choose somebody to read, and we go kind of section after section. You can pass, feel free to, and read a whole section, and afterwards, if there are any questions or anybody wants to share something or that's related to what Darwin has said, go right ahead. And I'll say anything, Angela, for you to say there?
Yeah, that we'll have a person read. We'll all be muted. And if you have something that you want to say after the reading, a question, a comment, a statement, a story, whatever you like, we have the digital hand raising function. So for those who are new, I will copy and paste that into the chat. And we are on page 57 of the book. I forgot to check what page that is on the PDF. So if someone could post that in the chat, that'd be great. It's chapter 10. Shuffle off the residue. That's the third section.
Yeah. And
Third
let
section.
me mention, I've mentioned this before. I once asked Darwin, what is the biggest mistake the Baba lovers are making? And he said, they think of themselves as small and it remains small. Think big. Think even outside the traditional spiritual box. Baba says the whole universe is inside of us. And there's a great line from Prophet Muhammad where he says, the heavens and the earth cannot encompass me, but the heart of my sincere lover can hold me. And so one of the things that, there was a number of things that Darwin would highlight on how we keep Baba at a distance. And there are like many different ways, but some of the ways that he would mention is, one of the things is feeling unworthy. We know how Baba would like us to live, and we're falling short, and we don't always obey him. And then people in our lives, our teachers and parents and everything, we're kind of falling short for them. And so somehow that falling short gets projected on Baba as if he disapproves, So we kind of have Baba at a distance over there on a sofa, looking at us with a slight disapproving look. But you know, Darwin says we've got to throw that whole thing out the window. Baba loves us unconditionally, and not when we're good, and he turns away from when we're bad, so to speak. Another thing that he would highlight is we have a certain suspicion in relation to Baba that keeps him at a distance. In other words, if I let Baba into my living room here, what if he asked me to leave my job? Or what if he, you know, asked me to move to Newark, New Jersey or something? You know, I mean, there's a kind of like, what could he might ask me something. You know, we have the whole history of what the lovers of God and the saints have been through, what masters have asked their disciples. What if he asked me to do some of that stuff? So there's a little reticence of being, what can I say, allowing Baba in too far. And that has to be overcome. And another thing that that Darwin would kind of talk about is, you know, what can I say? We grow up, and some people enjoy our company, a few people, maybe our parents and everything. But, you know, people by and large are not thrilled by us. You know, they kind of enjoy us. If we're entertaining, they might like us more. And then Baba's saying that, you know, he is there with us. He actually loves and adores our company, always. You know, but then we project this kind of feeling like, well, I'm not that special, I'm not that important, and that gets projected on Baba. You know, rather than whereas he loves us as we are. We don't have to be anything special. We might have to be special in the eyes of our fellow human beings, but with Baba, he has no taste at all. He goes for all of us. Anyway, those are certain things that there are many other ways we keep Baba at a distance. And a lot of this work is trying to overcome those barriers and let Baba come right in. So anyway, that's my spiel. You know, sometimes I think of these things, you know, of things that I've asked Darwin, and you get some feedback from him on our certain attitudes and sentiments that we carry on that remain unexamined. So anyway, let's go for it.
All right, page 57, shuffle off the residue. That's chapter 10. Apparently it's page 33 of the PDF, but.
Good, thank
Off
you.
the residue. I feel that this practice of giving everything to Baba is one of our most valuable assets. We develop a habit of quickly giving everything to him and accepting his grace. Have no concern, yet in the same time, deep concern. By having deep concern, I mean becoming aware of the first subtle sign of tiny fibers of sanskaric veils that we have unwittingly accepted and giving them to Baba. Our giving can become quite subtle if we find that we badger ourselves for having committed a misdeed. We can give that badgering to Baba. If we find ourselves trying to justify our behavior, we can give that justifying to Baba. We can even give to Baba our resistance to giving him our sanskaric patterns. And if we give even the giving itself to Baba, it becomes a loving act of sweet release of one's whole self to the beloved. And in return, one experiences infusions of Baba's love. It is very helpful if we try to open our feelings to Baba. That way, no matter what thoughts or feelings come up, we can shuffle off the sanskaric residue of these thoughts and feelings to him and accept the gift of his cleansing. He has opened up for us the doorway to freedom. He has already paid the price through his vicarious suffering for us. We are accepting this sacrifice when we conscientiously, continuously give everything to him and accept his grace. We then experience salvation from turmoil and conflicting emotions. We must realize that the Master is really omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. We depend upon his love flowing through us to release us from the false. He draws us into his level, which is universal and complete. He reveals to us our completeness. He saves us from ourselves. We experience the lifting of burdens from the heart. We see that we can let go of our fears. We become free from worry.
Sounds like a good deal.
I found this particular section so beautiful. I actually started doing some of things that Darwin suggests. Just keep giving everything. And I started giving good and bad as well. And then I realized I'm able to remember him, Baba, more and more, and at the same time, give it away. And it seems to help quite a bit. So that's what I thought I would share. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, because it's hard to give these things, good and bad, to Baba without remembering him.
Right.
In the process.
Yep.
Yeah, this particular idea of giving things over to Baba and being free, I've been working with a lot. Oh, here, let me undo my camera. I've been working with a lot, and I really enjoy. And I've really been thinking about this, and give it to Baba and be free idea. And I know that I can think of the be free part from two perspectives. One being that when you give something over to Baba, you are freeing yourself up from whatever that samskaric bind is in that moment. Whether you feel it, are aware of it or not, doesn't matter. You are freeing yourself up from something there. And at the same time, I also have had to, for myself, to get a sense of that freedom from whatever it is that my mind may have been stuck on, or a feeling that I may have been not liking the experience of, or whatnot, that might be preventing me or holding me back. I've had to choose to actively let myself feel freedom from that thing that I gave over. And so I just am kind of, it becoming more, well, I'm bringing this up because I think there's something to, I don't know if there's something to, I think there's something to the idea of being free from the perspective of giving it over and it's now gone to Baba, so you're free from it karmically, but then also having to choose to be free from that thing consciously yourself, to give yourself, I don't know, if it's quicker freedom or less suffering in the process of giving things over or whatnot, but I just have really come to be aware that there's a choice after I give something over for me to then choose to be free.
Excellent. Yep. No, that's exactly true. Beautiful. I mean, yeah, to spend that time to experience what you've kind of let go of, the freedom that it gives you, even if it's just a little bit, it's even a form of appreciation. Beautiful.
Very. And Gabriella.
Ace, it's this beautiful two sentences. He has opened up for us the doorway to freedom. He has already paid the price through his vicarious suffering for us. So I just want to bring this up because I had a conversation with my brother yesterday, and all of a sudden, very passionately, he says, well, he likes what Meher Baba says, but the fact of this messianic thing, he can't, deal with it, this. And he said, I don't want anybody that says they're God, that they're better than me. And so I was feeling, of course, for me, this has such deep meaning. And I was wondering if anyone could talk to that. Like, all I could say to him was, Well, it's a thing of the heart. It was an experience of God. That's how I knew he was God. It wasn't from my mind, Betta. And so that was the best I could do to answer his, concerns for me or for himself or, whatever that was. But it's so subtle and so beautiful. How is it that I can so deeply understand and appreciate this, and my brother could not? So I just like some comments on that.
Any answer? I'll just say one thing is that Baba also says that we are also divine. So it's not just Baba over there getting all the glory. But go ahead, though.
Okay, so what I have been practicing giving everything to Baba, and what I find about myself is that I have a concept in my mind about how he's supposed to do it and what it's supposed to look like. And that's what I really need to give, that part. So what I say now when I give it to Baba is, no matter what it looks like, just, I'll trust you no matter what it looks like, because it doesn't look like my plan. This morning I was in a meeting that I was doing a presentation for in a board meeting, and I gave it to Baba because I felt insecure, and it didn't go according to the way I wanted it. So the real freedom I'm learning is release from my plan, from my thinking about what it should look like, what the result of Baba's taking it from me will be. So that's what I wanted to share.
Beautiful, Betty. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, because it it may not go the way we were kind of praying it would go.
Exactly.
But it means the world to Baba that you stop before something and give it to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it may go a way that touch other people in a way that you won't find out until later. Yeah. Wow, beautiful.
Laika, you had your hand up?
Yes, for Gabriella. Hello, Gabriella. It's always so good to see you. I think of Bauji and Inch by Inch. Anyway, I had a response to your brother, which is something that really impressed me early on about Baba. And Baba had said this, like, oh, don't, and I can't remember the context, but it was something like, oh, don't worry about maybe a husband or something like that. I don't need anybody to believe in me. Just, let them love and the way they love. And, taking a light approach with people for me because we're in the Bible Belt here. There's a lot of people that, kind of are up in arms about that. And I just say, oh, that's all right. He doesn't need that. He loves everyone and is in everybody's life, and just laugh it off. And it takes the pressure, off of my devotion to him with that person, like that would ever be a wedge, Yeah. So that I just wanted to say sometimes just being real light about it, even though for us, of course, it's the most sacred relationship we have, most important, but just saying, oh, don't worry, Baba's fine with that, he loves you, and that's all that really matters. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, very good, Laika.
I have actually two responses, Gabriel, to your situation. And first of all, delightful to see you here today and many times. And my response is sort of an affirmation of what Jeff responded about the fact that in fact we are all divine. and, you know, something akin to, here's a possibility, I accept Mayor Baba as the avatar and kind of as God in human form who comes down to be with us, to help us realize we are inseparable from him. We are also divine, that there's not a hierarchy here. We're all one, and he's helping us to realize, to take away the veils and so forth that keep us from realizing our own true selves. And the second thing, as you were speaking about your brother, it prompted memories for me of mine, who back in '69, when I first came to Baba, my brother was in grad school at Berkeley, working on a PhD in theoretical math, something so far out there you can't even talk about it. Very, very heady stuff. But we would go home to our parents. I was also living in Berkeley at the time, for Christmas. And he would come up from his room that was in their basement. And as soon as I'd unpacked and put on my night table what I was reading, he would squirrel it away and go read it down in the basement. And in that process, he read God Speaks, the Discourses, Listen Humanity, which were 3 of pretty much the 4 or 5 books that existed back then. And when he finished, I asked him, "So, what'd you think?" He said, he's sort of a guy of few words. He said, "Well, Mayor Baba's either crazy or he's who he says he is. And he's clearly not crazy." And yet for the rest of, he's still here on the planet. He lives in Istanbul and he sits there translating 14th century Tibetan perfect masters' works and so forth in Istanbul. But I can't get him. I so many times tried to get him, "Come see me at Mehrabad." You know, his wife likes to travel. She likes to buy things in the bazaars. You know, it's like some reason, any reason that would get them there. But yeah, he also didn't get devotional sanskar as his life. So, but he did recognize that Mayor Baba's not crazy. He's who he says he is. So Baba plants his seeds in so many different ways.
Yeah, we know those experiences. Yeah.
Just to Gabriella, I've ached so to have certain people close to me come to Baba, and in some cases it has happened. In most cases it hasn't with close people. But from just doing tours and being around and stuff at this center, and the way people tell their stories and all, it's so clearly, to me, it's so clear that it's Baba's timing, and you can't bring anybody to Baba if Baba isn't ready for that. When my mother came to Baba, Kitty and Jane Haynes drove up right behind her. She was sitting on the bench by the water in front of front of Long Lake, and she said, "I guess Baba's been hidden deep, deep within me all this time, and now maybe he's ready for me." And Kitty says, "Oh no, darling, now she said, "I guess I'm ready for him." And she said, "No, darling, now he's ready for you." I'm sorry, I can't get it straight. But anyway, it's so clearly Baba's timing, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's how I see it. But anyway, that's how I look at it. Anyway.
You can set the table. Put all their favorite dishes there on the table. And I hope they're hungry. Yeah.
Right. And Betty Lohman.
I just remembered that Baba had told someone, and I think it was someone who was having difficulty, but taking him as God. He said, "Think of me as your best friend." So that's for Gabriella too.
And Rita.
Hi, for Gabby. An acronym that I use is LOVE, L-O-V-E, which is let others voluntarily evolve. That always helps me bring it back and be satisfied with where I am and let other people be where they're at. Thanks.
Yeah, good.
That's sweet. And Judy again?
Just real briefly, a response to Robin's share. I'm remembering that Baba said, it's your job to bring my name from your lips to someone else's ears. It's my job to bring my name from their ears to their heart. So maybe that's the setting the table, as Jeff put it.
Yeah, very nice. And Larry?
Just very quickly, what Betty said was true. Baba one time said, it is very difficult for the West to experience me as the avatar. And he said, in that case, people should just consider me their best friend.
Beautiful, yeah. Okay.
Paula Roper?
To get on.
One more, Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, for Gabriella. One thing that Baba said that can de-escalate those kinds of situations, he said, it's the truth that you find within yourself, you know, that he once expressed, that honesty. And he said, so if you believe that I'm God, say that I'm God. If you believe I'm the devil, say I'm the devil. But the idea is go with the truth that you find in your heart.
Yeah. And that gets communicated, yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody. It's such beautiful, helpful comments.
The idea, the path of love. The idea is that we begin to focus on Meher Baba, our real self, our ideal God or reality, instead of illusory things, and give everything to Baba his way of doing that. Actually, loving the Master is the most direct and effective way of dissolving our sanskaras. Strange as it may seem, by focusing solely on him, concentrating on loving him purely, the other things that we are struggling with begin to get worn out from neglect. Instead of wrestling with our sanskara complexes, we can use our efforts and energy to find the beloved within and love him with all our hearts. In contrast to the path of purging, where we are likely to feel that the Master is painfully stripping us of elements we take to be who we are, quote, or what we want, quote, the refining path of love for God involves willingly giving to him everything we have to offer because we value his truth and love rather than illusory things. Oh, that's nice. Give everything to Baba. Let all desires and impulses flow through. Take no action. Focus on Baba in the heart, not on the desires and impulses. If we ignore or sublimate our sanskaric impulses, they fall away. Try to let them go rather than engage them in combat. Let them fade away from neglect. Struggling with these impulses merely intensifies the I. Even during the few moments or hours you are suffering as they still cling to you, try to maintain the attitude of letting go. A temporary void is created when we release something to the Master, and we see that it is an easy step to begin to turn the flashlight of consciousness, quote unquote, from something to the real thing. When we let go of all other things, bliss is there. We recognize what we had never realized before, that we do not have to go anywhere to find it. So, focus on the Master with love, give everything to him, and concentrate on accepting his bliss. This brings about, albeit slowly, transformation within the whole of consciousness and makes it possible for us to participate in his consciousness, to merge with him in a limited way at first, but more and more as time goes on.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love the phrase, Now I forgot it. I lost it. I had it. Oh, and concentrate on accepting his bliss. I mean, we always say concentrate on whatever, but to accept his bliss was a phrase I've never thought of before. That was all.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. No.
Wow. Yeah. And Ray, go ahead.
I've been trying to do this since I saw Jeff mention this when I'm back in April or whatever, about like trying to give everything, let it flow. Just don't try and name what you're feeling, but you feel it and you then let it flow out to him as he's in front of you. And it creates a sort of a space. And this is something like the flashlight of consciousness, maybe, where you'll then be able to feel, to experience that which is him, and not, like he says, rather than illusory things. That's my comment. Thanks.
Yeah. When we were young with Baba, this back in 1970, and we would be giving these things to Baba, and we would actually feel a void. And I remember saying to Darwin, giving this stuff to Baba and everything, I mean, I use the word, we feel empty, of a void. And he made this gesture, bring, right in front of his heart. He said, bring it up, bring it into the fullness. Go from the emptiness, the void, up to the fullness that's behind the void. But just that gesture, and it really made a profound impact. So even if you kind of feel like you're losing things, there's a fullness that you, like the bliss that Chitra was talking about, that you inherit in doing that. Yeah.
And Anthony.
Yeah, hi everyone. I thought it was just absolutely beautiful, that contrast that Darwin talked about, of instead of, here, I'm trying to read the section a little bit here. In contrast to the path of purging, where we are likely to feel that the master is painfully stripping us of elements we take to be who we are, what we want. Refining our path of love for God involves willingly giving to him everything we have to offer, because we value his truth and love rather than illusory things. And that, oh my God, that really hit home big time. I think I was caught for many years in just being too identified with the difficulty of the stripping and the purging process, and not identifying more with the love and filling myself with his love and having that be primary, and realizing that my path is more about that than about the purging part of it. And it was just a total game changer. And I think that it really started to shift a lot this year. And the feeling of it before was, once I endure all this purging and stripping and pain, then under that is going to be the love. And then I'll finally be able to get to the love. And I just, after so many years of that, there were so many infrequent times of the love that it just started to click, like, well, maybe you have to start doing things that directly cultivate love and focus more on that. And it turned out to be the absolute thing to do. So I wish I would have read this a while ago, but who knows why these things happen the way they do. Why we didn't see something years before to spare us from having spun our wheels for a while. But nonetheless, it's beautiful that it's here. And I hope and pray anybody else that's caught in that process, sees that distinction of that the love is the thing to focus on, and not the painful cleansing and purging. So yeah, thank you.
Wow, Anthony, beautifully spoken. God, you people, speak so well about these internal things. really.
Yeah, beautiful.
Here we go. As we gain a deeper understanding of how we create sanskaric veils, and as the activity of Baba's love, grace, works within us, we rise to successively higher and freer levels of consciousness and correspondingly can focus more and more one-pointedly on the Master or God. This constant one-pointed inner focusing or meditation eventually becomes effortless. This is not meditation that is a glossing over, but a rooting out form of working. But to attain effortless effort, we must be able to control the sanskara-driven thoughts and feelings that influence us to focus on and value lesser things. As the fifth plane of consciousness, at the fifth plane of consciousness, we gain complete control of thoughts, and on the sixth plane, we can completely control feelings. But we must try to get control of our thoughts and feelings at the level we are now. This is how we get that higher control, by working with our thoughts and feelings where we are now. Putting our full attention on Baba or God within keeps the inner doors open and creates a funnel that narrows our focus from the vast manyness of gross objects to the oneness that is reality. And this opens up our consciousness to the presence of God, the divine calm. That's it.
Ooh.
It's, to me, it's like how we get that higher control by working with our thoughts and feelings. He's talking about fifth plane and in sixth plane. And he's telling us to like start now, to like start to do that. The first thing when I read it, I said, oh, that's impossible. That is impossible. Thank you.
Yeah.
And,
Bit by bit. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
One of the things that I gathered from Darwin is I mean, I'm talking about learning to control thought. The mind has been our authority for, I mean, through our education in college. You go to the mind to ask what to do. That habit has to be broken, and go to the heart to find what to do, what we should do next. And that's a transition from going from the mind as the authority to the deeper heart as being the authority. And that's a movement from up here down into the heart area. But like I say, that mind says, well, hey, do this and do that. I mean, a lot of it is very superficial, but the whole world is very often reacting from the mind. And that's kind of the way of the world, and you basically, it's going against that. Or as somebody had a bumper sticker on their car that came to the center, don't believe your thoughts. Believe your intuitions, but not ideally not your thoughts. Yeah. Except on superficial things like your social security number or your birth date, you know. The mind is good for those things.
And Nancy Fergal?
Hi.
Ah.
Yes, I'd just like to share the last paragraph there. I really appreciate that funnel that helps us toward oneness.
Beautiful, yeah.
And Betty, go ahead.
And I like the next line. This opens up our consciousness to the presence of God, the divine calm. That just rang deep. liked it.
Yeah, I never heard Darwin use that term, the divine calm, but beautiful. Yeah.
Jeremy or
Actually, Shelley.
Shelley? Yeah.
Hi. I'm stuck on thoughts and feelings here. I'm thinking about thoughts. Yeah, I certainly don't have control over those thoughts and feelings. But that being said, I always feel that presence of Baba with me during those thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're controlled necessarily, but I just feel that presence and that stays with me. So I have to think that Baba's helping me in that way, that while I'm having these thoughts and feelings, to have that awareness that Baba's there with me. That's...
Yeah, beautiful. But you're not really, you're actually controlling your feelings and thoughts because you're focusing on Baba's presence, and you're not giving the charge to your thoughts and feelings, So you have detached immensely from all that going by.
Yeah, I try to do that.
That's how it happens. Yeah, beautiful.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, thanks, Shelley.
And Heidi.
Yeah, hi. I had a chance to watch the movie about Mr. Rogers, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. If you haven't seen it yet, it's worth it, because here was a soul who actually found a skillful way to not only manage his thoughts and feelings in a very spiritual way on a daily life, but offer that skill set to children. And in this movie, he actually offered it to adults as well. You get to see a story about someone who interviewed him and actually was healed through the process. But I keep thinking all the time that, Baba is helping us directly, and we're so fortunate to be aware of his help directly. But I also think he's helping everyone through movies and through books and things that come out that are helping all of humanity. And there are people who are very skillful at all of this that Darwin talks about. They might not necessarily know who Baba is, but they know who God is, and you could see that through the movie. So I just wanted to mention that because it's important. When I was in Florida for 6 months, Baba helped me find this woman, a neighbor. She's 96 years old, lives by herself, and she was the first. Her and her husband were the first Black people in the neighborhood. Her husband died, and we talked, and I was helping her a little bit, and she prays every day for 4 hours. And one day she said, "Do you want to come in my house?" She doesn't let anybody in her house. I said, "Sure." And I could feel the house was lit. That's the only word I can describe, that it was just lit it was light. And I'm walking with her to the room that she prays in, and I just started to cry. And she took my hand and she said, "Don't you, Jesus is in that room." I said, "I know." And I could feel Baba throughout the whole house. And here's this woman, and it was my spiritual connection for 6 months, this neighbor who I really needed, in addition to the Zoom groups, which were wonderful, but just on the ground. So I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful.
Lots of things and people around us that Baba is speaking through. He's working with everyone to manage ourselves so we can be free and have room for him to enter.
Yeah. Lovely. It's hard to imagine that Baba is with everybody, step for step, everybody, whether they believe in him or not.
Right.
He is focused on their journey to God, to himself. Everybody, and just It's just it just depends on when you start to become aware of that fact, you know. Bosh.
Okay. When Baba completed his work, he said, "My work is finished," and I believe that this is his work, is preparing all the writing and his connections with the movie stars and all the people he had around him, was to prepare people to plant that seed that they could, you know, for whatever's going to happen. It's like right now, right? You know, it's like it's laid out.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of very lovely things are happening in the world, and while at the same time, a lot of disturbing things are happening. Yeah.
It's not an easy.
Sorry, we didn't catch all that, Marcia.
I just said it's like a very interesting time. You know, everything is closed off, and we're all here looking, you know, at our relationships with people, with ourselves, and it's a time to reflect and to, yeah, like Baba definitely planted seeds in everybody, and everybody's kind of like got their flowers growing at different paces, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's not easy, but there's a lot of good to it, you know, and people are. Like, look at, we couldn't be all talking together before, so it's kind of like everything's just the way it should be.
Yeah.
It's placed us in this situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The cat took everything away. Changing our paradigm. Why strive to become something in the dual realm when you have to let the whole realm go? All right, Darwin Shaw. We are so much more than our dual nature. Meher Baba comes to free our consciousness from the realm of duality and take us to a much higher level. But we have to dare to leave behind the paradigm of the personality, to plow through the forest of self, part the underbrush, and accept the bliss, light, and truth that is our real identity. We have to dare all for God. Through faith in Him, we are enabled and encouraged to do this. Wow, that's beautiful.
Go ahead and read the next one too.
Oh, okay. The dual realm. What is this realm of duality that we are transcending? It is the level of all the opposites, gain and loss, beginning and ending, past and future, pleasant and unpleasant, happy and miserable. The opposites are tied in with the ego and a sense of the personal, as in, I am happy, I am unhappy. I have suffered loss. I have made great gains. I have done something wonderful. I have done something terrible. The I is predominant through all these vacillations between the opposites, and it governs our moods and our sense of who and what we are. In the dual realm, we are also involved in desires nearly all day long, even simple desires. What shall I eat? What shall I wear? What do I do now? What shall I do next? Will the car start? Our consciousness is caught at that level, and Baba wants to disentangle us from all of that and show us that we are not the personality self at all, that we are the soul. We are spirit, eternal, sovereign, and free from all the illusory functions of the dual realm. Thank you.
Whew. I said, I think a couple of times ago when I was young, and Darwin looked at me and he said, Jeff, you are not the personality self. The personality self is just a storefront for the soul. And we make such a big deal of the window displays, and we're changing with the seasons, when we could go in the store and enjoy the priceless merchandise inside. That was a kind of a shock to my ordinary way of thinking at the time.
Habitual.
The habitual paradigm. The whole construction of what we take to be factual is illusion, not real at all, but we are accustomed to it and have accommodated ourselves to it because it conforms to reasoning. Therefore, at the outset, as spiritual aspirants, we have to let go of the mind and rise to the level of the spirit. In other words, we have to consciously begin letting go of the habitual paradigm that has a hold on our consciousness and is locked in with reason. This habitual paradigm is a prototype or basic pattern of thinking we have that consists of limitations that seem to constitute reality because these limitations are corroborated by reason. It is a whole system we each have developed in our consciousness, and we do not even know that we have this system. It is a system where we work at the level of conditions, and it consists mostly of limitations and dependence upon contingencies. We postulate that certain conditions cannot come about unless other conditions are in place, and we think that one condition is counteracted by another condition, which we believe depends on certain contingencies. This is the level of conditions. Really, this is the level of confusion. Our life is a spiraling process toward truth. Changing the paradigm of who we think we are and what we value is part of the spiraling process of consciousness, propelling us from one level to a higher level. Instead of letting our consciousness and our lives go along randomly, we need to take control. However, letting go of the mind and rising to the level of spirit does not mean that we do not have an intellect and cannot think, but that the center of our identity moves from the mind to the spirit level. The intellect is available for use, but we do not make it our headquarters anymore.
You know, he talks about contingencies and conditions. Can anybody kind of give us an example of how that whole chain of inevitabilities takes place? How it happens in our life? Anybody? I was trying to think of something myself, but
Go ahead, Ray.
I think that it might be that our perception agrees with our reason because they're both, you know, they're both coming from the same place. We don't know that, so when we reason something, and then we have perceived something, we think, well, this will corroborate that, but it's actually like, you know, the two fingers are coming from the hand and we don't know it. Thank you. That's sort of a thought.
yeah, it's I think we kind of know it, but it's, if someone had an example from you know, from
life,
from the life experience.
Tina, go ahead.
I guess like with the coronavirus, I just keep trying to figure it out and think like, if there's a vaccine, then I can relax. If they find a treatment, I can relax. But otherwise, I've got to read a lot of news stories and try to, get a real handle on this so I can protect myself.
Yeah, very good example. And you can't be worry-free until this contingency of a vaccine or something. You
Yeah,
can't relax until these conditions are met.
right.
Good. Yeah. Instead of just going for being free now.
Yeah, I can't just say oh, Baba's gonna take care of it. I don't know. I'm just not that zen. What can I say?
Good, though. Good example, Tina.
And Jeremy?
Well, I actually think Tina's example was perfect, but I was thinking I recognize this own thought pattern in myself of, I'll think of some desire that I have that seems innocent enough, oh, I like to go hiking or camping, right? And then it's well, if I like to go camping, then I ought to live in a place that has access to that, but then I need a different job. So then I have to worry about, well, what kind of job can I have? Will it pay me enough money, and will I be able to live in that place? And then what about my family? And then all these kind of this chain reaction of things I have to think about, because I think that getting this thing of being able to experience nature will bring me happiness. And it's I have to backtrack and backtrack and backtrack and figure out all the different layers to get me to that place. And I find myself doing that all the time, actually. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, very good example. Excellent.
Yeah, excellent example.
And then how do you get out of it?
I mean, I was going to ask that of all of you. I mean, it's funny that in the previous, the dual realm section where Darwin writes, where the desires nearly all day, every day of what shall I eat, what shall I wear? I was going to ask that to the group of, we all have to make decisions constantly, small and big. And I feel like it's really common for us to make decisions based on what we think we would enjoy or what would bring contentment or pleasure or whatever on that gross realm. So then what do we, is that a problem, even for something as simple as what should I eat, today? Or should we be saying to Baba, what should I eat today, Yeah, so I don't have a good answer because I was going to ask that as well.
Yeah. Anyone to respond to that?
There were a few hands up. I'm not sure if they'll answer that direct question, but Sailaja or Prakash?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the, this arises because we want to receive and then give. And Baba told us the other way around, give love and receive love. But anyway, I think one of the things I can think of is, it's not my personal experience, but a hypothetical situation I can come up with. I need to have $1 million to donate money to somebody. Well, I may not be able to make it, and that's a condition I have put, and I can't help people because of this particular condition. And the day will come when I just pass away. And so that's a difficulty I have put myself in when I can do whatever I can within my own means. So that's a small example I can think of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bringing it all to the mind and trying to work it out on that level instead of working it out within. Beautiful.
Daniel?
Yeah, what this reminds me of is, I think of a metaphor of I'm walking down the road and I get to a fork in the road in life, and I'm faced with a choice about which path I take. And just to simplify it, we're talking about the relying on the mind versus relying on the heart. And it's a very common thing, and using Jeremy's example, and Jerry, I'm just using what you said as an example, but that if I take the road of the mind, And I say, okay, well, I've bought into a whole set of assumptions and conditions and, you know, and a whole orientation once I've just gone down that path, once I've just stepped onto that path. And they're all the kind of conditions you talk about, and they're fundamentally based on the premise that I'm the one responsible. I'm the one that has to make it happen. I'm the one who's going to affect the result on it. And therefore, I start having all these conditions that present themselves. If I approach that fork and I say, okay, I'm not going to take the path of the mind, I'm going to take the path of the heart, and really cultivate that and really go into the heart and stay there, then I'm in a very different situation around all of that. And then I no longer am feeling that responsibility. Then I'm feeling that Baba is guiding it all through me, and that everything that presents itself will be as what Baba wants to present itself. And it's that very fundamental fork in the road. And I find myself, you know, sometimes I'm fortunate enough to recognize I'm at that place, and I can either go with my mind or with my heart. And I see it, and I make that choice, and then I sort of have a way of orienting myself. But unconsciously, it's so easy to slip into the other path, in which case, all of a sudden, I'm carrying the burden of it all. And that's where all this whole paradigm presents itself, because the paradigm is a state of consciousness. And the state of consciousness is basically, you know, for me, a lot of it is about who's responsible for my life. Is it me or is it me or Baba? So.
Wow. Beautifully describing that dynamic in ourself. Yeah. Thank you.
Mayor Prasad.
Oh, good. Seattle.
Yeah. Jai Baba. I have an example from this morning. I went for a walk this morning and came back and went into my backyard, and I was bitten by 4 or 5 wasps that were never there before. And my face was all swollen and everything. And it was super painful, all the bites, all the stings. And then when I came back into the house, my wife said, "Oh, I opened this patio door. That's probably why all these wasps, you know, they heard the sound and they started biting me." So, you know, those are, I thought, some of the conditions that we typically tend to think that, you know, I opened the patio door, that's why they heard the sound and started biting. But really, you know, if you really believe in Baba, you would say, well, the wasp is, you know, Baba is also in the wasp. So, you know, basically, it's Baba putting you in that situation. So everything goes back to him. In fact, Baba said that the root cause of everything is in the whim itself. So, you know, if you think in that way, basically everything goes back to that very root cause of, you know, Baba as the root cause. Instead of all these little conditions we try to justify with, you know, in our day-to-day things.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Great examples.
And Janet Jacobs.
Yeah, I'm kind of commenting on what Daniel said. I had an experience myself this morning where I really said, you know, what would you have me do today, Baba? What would you want me to do? Well, things progressed, and I'm in Colorado. A lot of my family is in South Dakota, and my daughter and son, my grandson, are going to South Dakota for the 4th of July. And just a bunch of things transpired where I decided to go as well. And so on the outset, it feels like, okay, Baba opened the door for this to happen, because as of yesterday, I said to my sister, no, I am not coming. And because I don't feel safe. But then things changed today. But now what's happening is that I question whether that was really Baba, or whether that was you know, the guidance, that the events that happened that I didn't really manipulate, but the events that happened that led me there. I mean, of course, I manipulated to a certain degree. Is that really Baba at the fork in the road guiding me one way? Or is it me and my personality self, the I self, pushing me? Because I'm like sick of being alone and in my house. And, you know, I mean, granted, South Dakota is safer than where I am in Colorado. So there is that piece of information. But anyway, that's where, I mean, I got to get to the fork in the road, and then there's a fork inside me that says, oh, yeah? How do we know that it's the Baba guidance we're listening to and not the desire mind?
Yeah, very good question. Anyone want to respond? Daniel, she's at the fork of the road, and now you're at the fork of her road. Very good. No, I mean, those are deep questions to ask. Yeah.
There's a few hands up, so I'm not sure when we'll get to the answer to that answer.
Yeah.
But Julie, go ahead. Ingsberg?
Hi, I'm here. Well, about her question, so if you're at that place of wanting to go and there seems to be no obstacle, then I would say, you know, there is no guilt or anything. There's no fear. That seems to be clear intervention from Baba. And I was going to give another example. And my example is so interesting that there's this very minor amount of money that the government's going to decide if I get or not, because right now I'm not going to get it. And there's a hearing. So in this hearing, I'm like, Baba, do you want me to, you know, go ahead and do this hearing and, you know, be a warrior and see if I can collect some money? So I didn't get any answer to that. So then after a while, I just prayed, okay, would you please take this? And so the first thing that happened was that I let go of the result. So I had to let go, and it wasn't necessarily a head to heart, it was just a head to Baba. Like, I'm heading to Baba now. Baba, whatever you wish, I can be a warrior or not be a warrior. So then the first thing that was really wonderful is the hearing was supposed to be on a day, and it was canceled because I wasn't prepared. It was just, all right, we're moving this a month away. So now I have a chance and timing, and that was magical to me. And now there's time to acquire some representation, or it may not happen. So when I gave it to Baba, I totally did let go of the result. I really didn't care what the result was. And he made that really easy to experience because it was such a low amount of money. And so I could, you know how he stepped me up to this process. Like, now you can do this with even bigger things. But now I want you to see, you know, you are able to hand this over and accept whatever I give you.
Yeah. No, that's a beautiful progression, how we work our way to kind of getting a sense of what Baba wants. But yeah, there are a couple more questions.
Peter.
Oh, okay, thank you. Unfortunately, I'm like super distracted today. I've been wrestling with a phone and with a German Shepherd / Chihuahua, if you can believe that. I thought maybe that anybody wants to see what a German Shepherd / Chihuahua looks like. Okay, I didn't think so. Oh, okay. It's like to the lady that was talking about, I guess, mindset, and if I translate the question of how do we deal with the circumstances, I think to myself, because of painful circumstances, I read Lord Mayhair, and I saturated myself with Mondley talks, and I listened to, I read Baba's core books to trying to develop something, some kind of mindset to give me, let's just say, a spiritual defense. And one sad thing is just to kind of touch base on what Anthony said. Sadly, I don't feel love. I don't feel Mayor Baba's love. And there's a place in Lord Mayhair where it talks about Baba saying some people just don't feel the love for him. They just don't feel it. And some friends of mine are the same way. But, in regard to COVID, I'm a little over 50 years old. And there was a day when I was driving, I was working at night, and I started feeling a symptom. And I started freaking out. I called a friend, talked to him. He said, make it a first priority to get tested the day before, the next day. So I'm freaking out in the SUV because some of my family's gone. And then something happened where I realized, after asking the late Mickey Kroger to go through a spiritual process with me that has to do with creating a psychic change, this Mayor Baba consciousness came into me saying that he absolutely categorically has my back. Absolutely has infinite power, and he has my back. And although I still feel a lot of anxiety, I'm like a jumping bean. But when I got in the SUV, my fear turned to, how can I beat this? Because I do not want to be scared of COVID. I absolutely don't want to be scared of it. And I thought that with everything I'm doing for myself, meaning I'm juicing, I'm blending, I'm taking supplements, I do meditations, yada, 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 I started just having this internal dialogue saying, COVID, if you think you're going to have any real estate in my body without my permission, you have another thing coming. If you think you can dominate me, you have another thing coming. If you want to try and tackle my immune system with everything I do, try it. Bring it, you'll be destroyed. Period. End of story. Come on, please take it. Please try it. The only reason why I'll let you have any real estate in me is to give a good story, like I'm attempting to do now with Baba, hopefully doing the talking. And I felt far better. I was a little sick. I took my vitamin C with massive doses, and I ended up being okay. But there's some things that dominate me, unfortunately, but with the COVID, it's a sense of don't be scared, but be prepared. Yeah. And so that's the attitude I took with that, and I'm fine. And in other respects, yeah, I still have a lot of fear around them. In a way, I'm like maybe a couple paychecks away from being homeless. But the thing is, Mayor Baba still has me employed, still takes care of me, and I make a point of remembering that although I don't feel the love, I still want to and make a point of remembering what I have. And it brings more remembrance of having that, which I think increases the gratitude little bit by little bit. So I just wanted to share that with people, that it has a lot to do with the mindset around that. Thanks.
Wonderful, Peter. Beautiful. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's
Well,
intense.
right there, working with everybody.
Great. I guess I went back to the paragraph before the habitual paradigm. It's the dual realm, where it says, we live in the realm of I am happy, I am unhappy, I have suffered loss, I have great gains. And I guess what and I think we all, being human, live in that realm to some degree, more or less different days. But I guess what really kind of hit me was some of what Julie and other folks have mentioned is maybe the counteracting of that Darwin talks about is us trying to just be with Baba more moment to moment inside. And that counteracts that kind of dual realm, because things are always happening to us every single day. You know, I'm cold, or I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. It comes up in our life and in our own minds. And it seems to me the only counteraction is to be with Baba, ask for his help. Maybe if we're worried about something, to ask for his help and to give it to him. I've had recently a very bad foot infection the last 3 weeks, and the one good thing it was kind of scary because it was coming up, my leg was completely swollen, the red was coming up the leg, and you know, you wonder why these things happen. And the one thing that for me was very beneficial was it was pretty scary, so I had to rely on Baba. I had to actually ask and imagine him holding his hands over me and sending me light and love. And so it was actually a very good remembrance to do that, where I don't always every day do that as strongly as I had to do when I was in the hospital for this. So anyway, that was a good example, but I need to do it more every day, not just when I'm in dire straits. So I think the more we can be with him moment to moment, the better we step out of that dual realm.
Beautiful, Damien. You spent a lot of time with Darwin. He's been indoctrinated.
Indoctrinated.
And Ray, go ahead.
Hi, this is more or less about the fork in the road subject, because one thing happened to me that changed my life. There was a message I had received. It was in the center, actually, and someone had called me, and then it said, "Call so and so with an offer for a job." And so it was on the bulletin board in the original kitchen. So I saw that, and then I called, and I decided I didn't want the job. Well, the next morning when I woke up, that message was underneath my door. And I said, I think I made the wrong decision. And I called back and changed my mind. And that affected my whole life. Maybe sometimes, if it's something really, you know, maybe Baba might give you a little nudge. Wait a minute, you want to look at that again? That's thank you very much.
Good, Ray. Beautiful. Yeah.
Well, we still have a few hands. Let's see. Larry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that to Janet, when I'm in the same situation as you, when there's a choice at the fork of the road, I remember two things. Number one, Baba gave us all the power of choice. That's why we're independent beings. We can't evolve unless we have choices. So sometimes we often think that Baba's choice is either or. Maybe it's both things. Maybe you get, for once in your life, the choice to do whatever you want. And so you have to give that option. You could, maybe he's saying, whatever. Another thing is, I wanted to say that when I come to the same situation, I always remember that Baba said, don't worry, be happy. So number one, I don't have to worry about the choice, because whatever I choose, he'll arrange whatever regardless. He's that considerate. And then there's the whole aspect that Baba said, be happy. So if I still can't decide what to do, I always go for happiness. What would make me happy in this situation? Because I'm working for a master that wants me to be happy and is continually creating situations for me to be happy. So I would look at both situations as happy situations, but which one makes me the happiest? That's just my little 2 cents.
Beautiful. Wonderful, Larry. Beautiful.
Anthony?
Hi, this is for Peter. Yeah, thank you so much for your sharing. Something that just came to me when you were in the middle of sharing, I actually just graduated with my degree in Ayurveda, and one of the big things that they talk about in Ayurveda that's helped me so much spiritually is that if you see yourself out of balance in a certain area, for instance, if you notice that you feel a lack of love, and there's too much up in the head, just introducing activities and things to yourself that help to rebalance and to bring that quality you're looking for. So, for instance, like on an Ayurveda, treatment plan, if you were lacking in that quality, you would bring things into your life that help to cultivate that quality. So, for instance, things that help to waken the heart space up, like being in nature, listening to music and being able to just sit back in your chair and focus on your heart while you're listening to the music, and just trying to, fill your life with things that do grow that love and that heart space. And I found for myself that if I don't take the conscious time to cultivate those things, that I found for me, they don't really just naturally come. And I think I expected that they would. Like I was saying earlier about the cleansing process, that, hey, love was just going to come, or, oh, this was going to come. And I mean, maybe it does for some people, but I know for me, until I took the time to start cultivating that thing and, praying for it and asking Baba for help with it, it tended to not just show up until I started taking the initiative with it. So again, other people might have had different experiences, but I just found that taking some time to cultivate those qualities really helped me tremendously. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, by the way, congratulations to Anthony for his graduation.
Yes.
Congrats.
That's awesome.
It wasn't a question, it was a comment. On the June's calendar, Baba calendar, it says, do not brood over difficulties and do not take them too seriously. Let things come and go. Do not worry over this or that, and keep your mind in check, steady under all circumstances. And I was just thinking on how our minds really do mess with us. When we've made a decision and we really are clear, and then all of a sudden this uncertainty and doubt comes in, whether or not it's true or not true. And so just to remember that that is more what it can be, is just Maya or our minds, our ego trying to keep us from being happy. I liked that, the idea of choosing something that would make us happy.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, the mind, unfortunately, speaking to Janet, you make a decision and the decisions aren't necessarily completely clean. I mean, there's always a little admixture of things. Should I do this? Should I not do that? It's not, oh yeah, Bob is telling me to do that. Eric used to talk about this gadget. We have a gadget within us, or like Darwin Shaw's inner barometer, to see how we kind of feel about something. But it's never going to be pure. Sometimes it's pure if you feel it comes directly from Baba, but there's often a little bit of us in there. So it's hard to get just a pure reading. So, But what Paula quoted there, you know, the mind is going to come in there and say, you're just being selfish, or it throws doubt in something, and there's always going to be a little bit of doubt. But, you know, that's, you know, I like what Larry said, you know, which will be the happiest happiest of the two choices, you know. But like I say, that mind in there, I mean, or you have misgivings, and that's part of the work until you can kind of be able to read what, as best you can, what your heart is telling you, as opposed to what the mind is doing there.
I also thought, Jeff, of you know, what we just read previously about giving everything to Baba. And I'm like, oh my God, I could give this to Baba too. I mean, it's so obvious, and then already I'd forgotten.
Yeah. But it's hard to give everything to Baba too, because there are layers and layers and layers, you know. But I always feel if you do give these things to Baba, make that effort, it's the smoothest way to finding out what to do, you know, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gabrielle, you're next.
Hi, wonderful topic, and I couldn't resist. You know, I did all that music for Baoji, and one of them is a song, "Happiness is Better." So I just want to sing the chorus, if that's okay. It's real quick.
Yeah.
Happiness and misery both are in the domain of illusion. Illusion has no substance at all. But which is better? Which is better? Of course, happiness is better, my friend. Of course, happiness is better by far. Therefore the beloved says, don't worry, be happy.
Jai Baba, thank you. There's the answer on a
Thank you, Gabrielle. That was beautiful.
You know, when Darwin was up on the hill with Baba in what's now the museum room, but he was there with the 17 Western men, and Baba gave this, you know, discourse, and Darwin wrote it down on his stenographer pad, so it was fresh off the press, from the alphabet board to his stenographer pad. And this is what Baba said: don't worry, let me do the worrying. I enjoy working things out. There's no use in you and I worrying. If you are going to worry, then I won't worry. So the beautiful thing about that is I enjoy working things out. So if I'm worrying, I say, well, I'm keeping Baba from enjoy something that he enjoys. I'm robbing him by worrying. So, yeah. Anyway, any else? I mean, we're
Rebecca Kent has had her hand up.
Yeah.
Rebecca?
I think it's Bob.
Okay, got it. So I've just been enjoying observing Baba and how he's working things out. And I have to say, it's like if he wants me to do something, I feel like he makes it obvious. It's like right there in front of me, and I try to just do it. And usually when my mind gets in there, it's like we live in a culture of doers. When my mind is in there, that's me making up stuff to do.
And I know that difference now. It's like if he wants me to do something, he puts it in front of me. He gives it to me in a way that I know, you know, and I, you know, just by observing how he's working things out all the time, you know, like he'll take me out in the mornings. I go out for a walk and, you know, a little robin comes along and jumps along the path alongside me. And I feel like, yeah, Baba brought that robin along and it's making me happy and I'm talking to it and we're having a good time. And, you know, that has a significance that is well beyond just, you know, Becky and a robin walking along next to each other. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it is.
Yeah.
You know, he's bringing stuff into this world that is beyond what my little brain can think of, you know, and I just go along with it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun that way. So
Yeah, right.
That's what I wanted to say.
Great. Yep, beautiful.
Thanks, Becky. Let's see. We have 2 more hands up, Jeff. Julia,
Okay.
you're up.
Okay, Julie, yeah. And I'm trying to remember the quote about when you're on the path, Baba follows you. That sometimes maybe someone else can recall that one, that he's following us, and you know, those times when he just gives us free rein, obviously then we're making choices and he's right there with us. Does anyone remember that quote?
I mean, my as I recall, you know, Baba says, with Baba, the path follows you. You're not following the path. It follows you.
I love that. Thank you.
You don't have to worry about what's ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You're being, you know, carried along by Baba. There's one time that one of the caretakers of the center, a guy named Ed Hobson, he was saying, you know, I don't know if I'm giving myself to Baba. I don't know if I've really his. You know, he's this is right by the original kitchen. He said this to Darwin. And Darwin said, you know, you're like a man on a train that's going along, and you're standing in the aisle holding onto your suitcases, still thinking you're back at the station waiting for the train. You're on your way. I don't know if that image is clear, but I thought it was pretty good. You know, so you're just standing there holding your bags and, you know, on the train itself, thinking that you're still waiting to get on.
That's great.
No.
Elizabeth, that's our last one.
I can't hear you.
I just unmuted myself. So when you said about 15 minutes ago, we said, do not worry, be happy. And it just kept coming to me, the phrase that goes before that, do your best, do not worry, be happy. So I think doing our best is when we are making the effort, and the other part is the grace to work things out.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And who makes you try to do your best? It's got to be Baba, you know, inspiring that effort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all the hands, Jeff. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone. It's a free-for-all.
Okay.
But she also said, I will help you at the end of that quote, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gene Shaw always used to say, everyone remembers, don't worry, be happy. But she said, we forget the whole quote, which is, do your best, then don't worry, be happy. I will help you.
Yeah.
So Gene Shaw always used to quote the whole thing on that one.
Yeah.
There was a part not to shirk your responsibility, not to be responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important too.
Yeah.
But I think the part of doing your best is all that struggle that people go through to figure out what is the best. Do I take this road or that road, and how can I tell? And doing one's best to sort it out, to follow the heart and not be distracted by Maya, illusion, whatever we want to call it. But what is the best path? And then we have to make a choice at some point. Sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong in the scheme of things, but as long as we're doing our best, then
Yeah. Even if we make a mistake, it's a learning experience. I've taken it that way. If I thought it was the right thing and the loving thing, and it turned out not to be, well, I learned something profound about myself. It's a winning situation all around. Whether you make a mistake or whether you do the thing that has the right ring.
And question, does anybody know where the first part of that went to? Because all I ever hear, I was given cards that said, don't worry, be happy. And then somebody said, well, do your best, then don't worry, be happy. Does anyone know where that first part got cut off? It seems like a very important part of that quote.
Yeah.
And I got nothing for you.
Well, also, Baba, he would often, if you see him in the movies, he goes like this. Don't worry, be happy. So sometimes he didn't add the entire phrase. Don't worry. This would be worry up in his head. Be happy. So Baba himself would sometimes just shorten it. But you can, with Lord Mayhair, you could type it in. And find it, I'm sure.
Jeff,
Yeah.
Betty Lohman has her hand up. She might have something to offer here.
Well, what I remember is him saying, do your best, then leave the rest to me. Don't worry, be happy. I'm looking it up now, but that's what I remember.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there are a lot of different versions of that.
And one other thing to remember on that is that Baba said this many different times to many different people. And some people he said, do your best and leave the rest to me. And then he would say, be happy in my love.
Yeah.
So these books, things that we read in the books and everything, they're there and they're accurate, but also there's other possibilities.
Yeah.
I think of it in a particular way like this: as one does their best, Baba's grace does the rest.
Yeah.
It's the way I've always looked at it: as one does their best, Baba's grace does the rest. And
yeah,
it came to me many years ago, and I take it.
Yeah.
I also remember that he said, leave the results to me.
Yeah. That's another.
The outcome, whatever it is, whatever happens after we do our very best, the results are Baba's.
Yeah. These are all very difficult truths to get experientially, so that you're, they're hard won after many, many lifetimes.
You know what the rub is there is that when I see a number of challenges, Mayor Baba kept on telling me, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Whatever needs to happen, like moving or getting a car, will happen seamlessly. So what I did was I put a to-do list together of what I needed to do. I did a to-do list, and then the uncanny thing is, out of nowhere, one event happened to another, and although I was very, very stressed out, the events happened seamlessly. Finding a new home, finding a new car, whatever the case might have been. So it's not that the stress wasn't there, but the end result was seamless. And I want to remember that. Although in the moment I'm stressed, although in a moment I'm doing what I need to do and I'm moving at a pace, it's just interesting to know that after the grind, I'm trying to think of how to say this. There's like a grind to it, but there's also a seamless result.
Yeah.
And I don't know what more to say about that, but I want more of those.
I once asked Margie, what he did about worry, in his life with Baba. He said, he put his hands up like this. It was always worry. Baba's own mandali, it was always worry. But they didn't hold on to the worry, or they didn't think that it was bad. Or Erich, he said when a train was coming, and they had to get Baba on the train and all the mandali and all the baggage, and they had 3 minutes to get it on, because it was only stopping for a short time. And he said, the horrible dread and anxiety inside of him as this train was approaching. And of course, he would go and get the job done, and they'd get everything on. They'd get Bobby in through a window or whatever. But then they left it behind. Let it go. I mean, in other words, the object is not to be worry-free. We're going to worry. There are things we're going to worry about, but not to hold on to it. Not to dwell on it. As soon as Erich got everything in, the worry was gone and he was relieved. So it's a short-lived worry. You're not going to be able to just be there at the train and not, and just be totally relaxed. It's not going to, that would be too much to impose upon yourself. Yeah.
You know what, Jeff? I love that rigorous honesty by Erich.
Yeah.
I love that admittance.
Yeah.
Great Erich was actually worried, so on and so forth. And I love when the mandali get gut level honest about things. It's really it's kind of heartwarming and good perspective.
Do you think in a way that part of what the don't worry means don't perseverate afterwards?
Yeah. Don't dwell on it too long.
Yeah. And I appreciate what you said, Jeff, about like when you make a decision, there is a piece of it isn't all pure most of the time.
Yeah.
It's a mix.
Yeah. Sometimes when you feel eclipsed by Baba, he gets something done through you. It's kind of pretty pure and clear, but that's more rare, I would say. We're an admixture of love and selfishness, so nothing is ever really pure, and we have to kind of accept that fact. That there's a lot of mixed motives in what we do, and just hope that there's enough loving motive in it to counterbalance the selfish element.
Yeah, oftentimes one thing I'll do is I will put my concern in a God box, a Baba box, and then I'm not allowed to think of it for a day, 3 days, whatever I just make up. And so I cannot think of it. And every time it comes to mind, I put it back in the box. And I keep doing that until the time is up. And it seems that it's a way of shutting down my mind a bit so that my heart can speak.
Yeah.
I think that's probably how it works. And it's just what I do. And then I go with whatever comes at the end of that 3 days.
Yeah.
And so that's my technique.
Yeah.
I didn't make it up. That's Carl Jung.
Uh-huh.
Elizabeth, did you want to
Baba.
say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ruthie, I do something similar. I have something called a blessing box. And if there's someone who needs prayers for something, I just write it down and put the date on it, and I make the request on that person's behalf, whatever it may be, and put it in the blessing box. And then I leave the results alone, and I feel like those people are prayed over, taken care of. They're in, I don't know, in the realm of God, Baba, and things don't always work out. I mean, somebody may be sick, they may die or whatever, but usually the situation or whatever resolves itself. But I don't know, I do feel better when I do that.
Sure.
It feels like it's a small thing I can do, and I never know what the results are going to be in the final analysis.
Yeah, that's very sweet and loving, Elizabeth.
Yeah. Yeah, I find you might be able to relate to this, but when I find I'm indecisive about something, I've got like a major decision. I've tracked it down. It's love wants to do one thing and self-interest is there also. The conflict is there. If I can find out what the self-interest is in it and remove that, then love knows just what to do. But it's difficult to find out what the self-interest is, because what looks like love may be self-interest, and that sometimes self-interest disguises itself in the form of love. So, but once I can get to the depth of where the self-interest is, then there's only one thing. There are not two things that are struggling for dominance. There's just one thing. And sometimes Baba would say, like when someone asked him a question, should I do this or do that, Baba? Baba would say, love would never ask that question. No, but there's that self-interest in there, which we have, and that makes for a lot of indecision and mental confusion. Yeah. I got an exchange that you might find interesting with Baba and Agnes Barron. Agnes Barron was a very feisty, kind of opinionated, bristly sort of a lady that Baba called her the watchdog of Mehermount. This is in California. And while she was there with Baba in 1956, she was in the car, and she said to Baba, some people don't like me. I mean, and she did put a number of people off, but Baba said to her, but I like you. I like you. So, but then later on, she was down in Los Angeles where Baba was staying, and she got in an altercation with Ivy Deuce. And later on, when she was with Baba, she said, Baba, there's some people I just don't like. You say we should, no, she said, you say we should love everybody, but there's some people I just don't like. What are you going to do about that? She challenges Baba. Baba said, Agnes, you love everybody, you just don't like everybody. And Agnes said, I can live with that. But I mean, he wouldn't necessarily say that to everybody, because she had a real universal love. She would give anybody in need the shirt off her back. So she did have that great love, but she was getting tripped up by the fact that she, disliked some people. But she would, even the person she would dislike, she would make sacrifices for that person. And Baba knew that. You know, someone, I remember in Mandalay Hall, someone said to Erich, you know, sometimes there's some people I just don't like. You know, and the other people in the hall kind of, you know, laughed and acknowledged in agreement. And Erich said, you know, he kind of paused thoughtfully and he said, you may dislike someone, but never assert that you have the right to dislike anyone.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Coming from Erich himself. Yeah. Hey, we can end on that note.
Baba.
Beautiful.
Dear Baba.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
anonymous
Thank you.
Jenny. That
organ
was
player.
beautiful.
Great to see all of you,
Hey,
and
Baba.
hope to see
Hey,
you.
Baba.
Have a
Hey,
good
Baba.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Beautiful. Yay, Baba.
Thank
Hey,
you, Baba.
Baba.
Hey,
Hey,
Baba.
Baba.
Thank you, Baba.
Jeff.
Baba.
Jay
Thank
Baba.
you, Jeff.
Thank you,
Always
Baba.
wonderful to see you.
Thank you, Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone. Thank you, Rosalie.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Yeah.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay. Nasreen.
Yes, yes, thank you so much. We enjoyed it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Much love.
The
Out to
same here.
California.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.